Bergs. We look at how they killed members of Congress who fought the Federal Reserve Act. They tried to kill Andrew Jackson. They tried to kill, and probably did kill, George Washington, just as a figurehead because he was speaking out against it. This is on record in the mainline history books, and Ron Paul has said he knows he's in danger. We should probably do a story documenting the dirty tricks of the bankers before, because this is the shadow government. This is the parasites. This is the enemy of all free humans, no matter what color or religion you are. And we don't need to let them make it racial, make it religious. That's their game. That's what they want. And don't let the white supremacists and people bully you into playing that game. Notice the ADL and the white supremacists are on the same team when it comes to that. Fight the International Federal Reserve. Fight the foreign offshore banks. Bob Chapman, I mean, you know the history of it. The film we carry, The Money Masters, 3 hours long, breaks it all down, but the general public may not. What do you expect to see the globalists do to try to stop this? I mean, more stage shootings or hyping real shootings or more MIAC reports demonizing in the Fed groups. They admit they have the Army spying on us, myself included, when I protest them. Where do you see this going?
Well, I think we're going to get a lot more of the same, and they'll get more aggressive. And we'll just have to get more aggressive and get more time on more stations throughout the world. And they're getting heat not only in the United States, they're getting it all over the world. And that's very important because, you know, they're throwing their hands up in the air like they did 3 weeks ago at the Bilderberger meeting. And they said, I think that the major problem that we got here that we've got to solve is that what we've created, which is this financial and economic collapse that we're trying to bring into being in the way that we want it to so that we can get full control, is spinning out of control away from us. And we think that maybe we should bring this thing in so we can control it. And I don't know whether they're in the process of trying to do that, but as they would try to do that, they would have to create all of these deflections to get people's thought patterns and the things that they're doing off on something else, like the North Korean shooting missiles, the situation that exists in Iraq and Afghanistan, and will they go into Pakistan? Will Israel attack Iran? And these are the things that they do to keep our mind off the subject. And the subject is very important because they're getting discovered. And this is what Ron Paul has done with this legislation. And even if we were to be defeated, millions and millions of people worldwide who now can identify who the enemy is. And there's going to be legislation like this in all 3 countries of the world. I mean, what we're doing is changing history. And it's happened over and over again. It's the right event at the right time. They are vulnerable because they have put this financial and economic situation mobile. They are making it happen, and it's worldwide. It's not only in America, and it's to bring the world to its knees so they can be forced to accept world government. And so they're going to continue to do what they're doing with all the spying and picking people up and the violence and the acts that they plan and execute. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And we have to be ready for it.
Well, Bob, we know the globalists are masters at engineering crises and then using the crisis they create to get to the next stage of power. And for decades, you've written and explained how when they finally imploded things by design, they would then announce a new Bank of the World, a new global carbon tax, that this new private group would regulate and control the planet for everyone's ease and to stop the financial crises. Same thing they did in 1913 after staging crises that they later bragged about. They said, oh, we'll fix all the future crises, just give us power. Just like NAFTA and GATT, we're going to save our economy, and then it makes it worse. And they say, oh, more open borders and more false free trade is the answer. And then it makes it worse. And the answer is more and more and more. It's kind of like, you know, if you punch somebody in the face 5 times and knock their teeth out, you say, here, this will make it better, and start punching them in the face 10 more times. Or here, let me take a, tire iron to your head. Here, that'll fix it. Oh, your head's hurting? Here, I'll kill you. That'll get rid of the pain. I mean, this is very, very serious. And then all over the nation, I've become conditioned, Bob. I've become acclimated, and I've got to consciously realize this is happening and discipline myself against it. Bob, every day, and I know every day you see these as well, every day I get emails like the one I'm about to read. This is a mainstream news story, but I was sent an email with this story. The police department put out a press release, so did the U.S. Air Force. This is from the U.S. Air Force Security Force Squadron Unit Public Affairs, Captain Tamara Fisher Carter. But every day, sometimes 3-4 times a day, Texas, Michigan, Washington State, Virginia, West Virginia, just everywhere. Same thing in Canada. Same thing in England. Same thing in Australia. Same thing in Germany. Same thing in New Zealand. It's everywhere. It's the same thing, but I get it just in the U.S. every day. Without looking for it, without even being able to read all the email, it's, there's a local regular Army Affairs is now going to have 2 officers in our small department of 15 officers. Or if it's a bigger department, there's going to be 20 guys from the Army here, some in intelligence, some in special ops. And then they admit in the articles they're going to be out watching the local citizens just to help the police. And, in San Antonio for Fiesta, this happened before 9/11, the Air Force MPs are out helping run checkpoints. And the Marines and Army are going to help at car wrecks. You're not against helping at car wrecks, are you? And, they're going to be out at DWI checkpoints with guns, searching people. And Northcom's announced, the Army's announced, because they've got to announce their own people in the Army Times, hey, we're going to be on the streets of America. And, they're announcing we're going to have checkpoints, we're going to have body scanners on the streets and subways and bus terminals. It's all being announced. Federal security forces lining everybody up, backed up by squads of paramilitary police. The bill's introduced to openly make law. It's already set up with FEMA camps for emergency medical centers, and people will want to go to the camps as the economy implodes, exactly as we predicted, because we've seen them do this in other countries. Now they admit it. Plus, we could reverse engineer what they were setting up before, but now it's confirmed. Here it is, local military civilian police training builds. This is the one today. Patterson Air Force Base, Colorado, security forces, airmen kicking in doors. I'm reading the article. This is from the Air Force. Security force airmen kicking in doors were only part of the action during a joint training exercise where the 21st Security Forces Squadron Airmen teamed up with members of the Colorado Springs Police Department, El Paso County Sheriff's Department, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, among other agencies. Colorado Springs, folks, that's the real government there in the mountain. The training was meant to bolster skills and tactics as well as improve interagency communication, vital at times of crisis, according to Major General Dumont. 21 SFS, individual mobilization, augmentee, both military and civilian organizations practice responding to a variety of situations where they routinely face a real-world situation. This is the first time all types of law enforcement came together for such training, said Paul McAhow, a civilian law enforcement member. It helps improve the working relationships we have and builds valuable skills for us all. The training combined classroom instruction with field training. Guaranteed they're talking about veterans and gun owners at this. Exercises where agencies participated, various special weapons and tactics techniques, explosives entry techniques, and tactical movement explosives were incorporated to add the realistic nature of the scenarios. And then they always blow stuff up in the town for a day or two, say terrorists really hit, to create the psychological fear, to make the whole town a giant re-education camp. Then later they announce it's a drill. The training familiarizes us with each other's agencies, and we can offer a particular situation, said Major Dumont. Overall, the training was a major success in team building and technique. So, everywhere, and I have the videos of them trying to take on the local citizens and to do all of this. They planned on imploding things, Bob, but what are the cops going to do when their families are losing everything? I guess maybe serve the system even more because they're scared? I mean, is there nothing they won't do? Bob Chapman.
Well, I think, like any organization, especially in law enforcement, because of the culture, it's always been them against us, and it was always seen by them as being a special group of people who were generally disliked by the public, even though they were taking criminals off the street, so to speak. But now we have this federalization thing, and I think most of them just want to keep their jobs, and they'll do as they're told just to get the paycheck. And we have lots of people in lots of fields that do that. Doctors are up against the same thing. Attorneys are, and if they speak out in court, they're held in contempt. And so there's all these barriers that have been set up, and the next barrier among law enforcement is going to be federalization. And policing organizations are going to have to decide whether they're going to go along with the federal government and lose their lives and lose their families. And I remind them again and again and again, there's 450 million weapons in the country. There's 80 million people who have been trained to do combat. There's 40 million people who have done combat. Do they really want to tangle with them?